We went from that house, 2.25 acres overlooking the water, which is hard to find in this area, to a 1-bedroom apartment, my wife and I. 1 bedroom. It was her idea. And we then launched everything that I have today with zero debt. It was built because of that move, and it was not easy ego-wise, but we did it.
We all know that real estate has created more millionaires than any other industry on the planet. We also know that it has created a lot of heartache due to mismanagement, overborrowing, and just simple life events that happen to all of us. Welcome to the Cash Flow Pro podcast. My name is Casey Brown, and I am your fearless leader. And although we might be bourbon sipping and at times foul-mouthed Southerners, we will always do our best to be honest, straightforward, and due diligent with all of the information we pass along to you. Welcome to the show. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of Cash Flow Pro, your daily real estate investing podcast and YouTube channel. I am here today with Chris Prefontaine of the Smart Real Estate Coach. Actually, he's the founder of the Smart Real Estate Coach, and he is going to discuss with us some very out of the box creative real estate ideas that I can almost guarantee you is going to be an educational experience, and you're going to learn exactly what he does, how he does it, and then we're going to see if there's a way for you to connect with him if you are interested in being in any of his programs. So Chris, welcome, sir. How are you today?
I'm doing awesome, Casey. Thanks. I'm looking forward to diving in here and letting everyone listen in as we chat.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. We're certainly glad to have you. And so I'd like for you to kind of, I know you, I heard the word crash, like I'm assuming 08, 09-ish, 10-ish, somewhere along in there. So I'd like for you to possibly even carry us back further in your life than that and tell us a little bit about your backstory. And then we'll get to the crash, and then we will go forward from there and see where you're at today.
Sure, I'll condense it because it's 30 and a half years and I'll put people to sleep. So I'll give you the high points and then you could say, go back to that. I want to hear more. So
Absolutely.
1991, I started in real estate. I started by building homes on lots I didn't own at first. So without knowing it in my 20s, we were doing terms deals. We were doing creative deals. I just didn't know it. I was too naive to know it.
Sure.
I hooked up with a builder and we packaged a home on that lot. The contractors would get paid at the end. It was unique. Around 95, I started a Realty Executive Franchise. I sold that to Coldwell Banker in 2000. And then that began sort of the run up to the crash where I was doing my own properties and then coaching at the time, not investors. I was coaching high-end realtors throughout US and Canada, mostly Canada. And then the crash hit. And when that hit, it caused me a bunch of pain, but it also caused me to re-engineer what I do because I had about 22, 23 properties. I signed on all of them personally with a bank. That's what I did back then. I thought it was normal. You get a loan and you buy a property. And so they all came knocking when the market dropped by a third. Some markets, I had a project, Casey, that dropped 2/3. It was a condo. We took 6 units and converted them to condos, sold 2 or 3 like hotcakes. And then like a light switch went off. We went from 172 selling them to I couldn't give it away for 50 grand. Crazy.
Dang.
So
man.
that hurt. That hurt.
That's awful sobering, I'm sure.
That's an understatement. Yeah, a little stress to say the least. So what we did was from February of 08, like it was like, I remember that day, I remember vividly, till February of 12, I did workouts, I did foreclosures, I did sell-offs, I did liquidation, negotiation, and I didn't file bankruptcy. Thousands of people told me I should have, but I didn't. I just dug out. And I'm glad in hindsight I did, and I'm glad in hindsight it happened. You couldn't convince me then. Because now, because of that, we buy and sell, myself, my son, and my son-in-law, and a great team now, in the New England area, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut. And we do owner financing, subject to existing financing, and lease purchase. That's all we do. That does not require money down. That does not require personal signature. It does not require banks. And then we go teach that, as you and I were chatting about off air, all around the country, to students who want to get in the trenches, do deals with us, and speed up that learning curve. And it sort of bridges the gap. I'll wrap up with this thought, and then we can go back to anything you want. It sort of bridges the gap, I call it, with the time from when someone like takes a course or goes to a seminar or virtual, whatever, and then when they do it for their first deal, so many people don't get there, sadly. So we one of the things we do is we get real interactive with the students. We get in the trenches. We're helping like phone calls, everything, so they get deals done and they learn that way.
Man, wow. That's yes, that is definitely a lot to unpack. And I think that I'd like to I'd like to go back, I guess, somewhat to the beginning and talk a little bit about your experience that you had in the 90s. And I think it kind of it kind of went really fast when you were talking about it, but what were those, I'm trying to think about the best way to ask this. So, um, what did that look like? I guess revisit your early years.
Yeah, I'll tell you how it started because it's kind of an interesting story. I grew up in a family company, and it was a welding supply company. It wasn't real estate, but I
Sure.
watched my dad build his own buildings, and that's how I got the itch for real estate. I was driving 2 hours one day to a branch, and on my, I'm going to date myself here because it was a cassette tape in my white Honda. It was Earl Nightingale. Now
Okay.
that's an old name. He's passed away.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in that, it was really cool. He told the story of a gentleman in the Depression who, when nothing was selling, would go to landowners, put a sign on their lot, and say, "Can I try to pre-sell this? No commitment." And then he would build homes on it. Well, that's where I got the idea. I literally went home, got a phone line. In those days, it was a tape recorder, right? Again, I'm dating myself, but I stuck that on a chair in my basement, and that started my building company. We went off and built that to, we did 50 homes a year at our peak, and that was before I went to into the brokerage world in '95. So it was interesting. I mean, we tied up the land with the seller by saying we'll put a sign there. We called the builder and said, "Hey, can you give us a package for this? What it might look like?" Then we priced it, pre-sold it, started the build, and everybody there, including the landowner, waited till that home closed rather, was built and closed to get paid. So no money in.
No money in
I
for anybody except the
Nobody.
landlord with the land, I guess, and not and if he and it's subject to other liens, I assume, if he had had a mortgage on it or something like that, right?
Right, because it could have been part of his house or something in theory, yeah. And I remember sitting with the lumber supplier going, I remember his name, he's in my book, Clee. I said, Clee, here's what I'm going to do. And he never met me, and he's probably thinking, this kid's nuts. So in hindsight, I think back, I asked all the subcontractors to do that and wait. Now, I don't know if they do it today because they're busy, they're super busy right now, but that was a slower market. So that was my 90s, and then I strapped my hat on to become a realtor. I never was a realtor. I got licensed and did it. It was brand
Yeah,
new.
that was my next question. You said you entered the brokerage world in '95, and so that was my next question. What was the experience like there? I mean, did you obviously you just said you didn't ever actually become a realtor, but what did that look like going into the 2000s?
Yeah, so I actually 95. My partner and I broke up in the building business 95 ish, and I did take the test. I did get my license. I went and seeked out. I'm big on coaching, right? You and I talk about coaching. I just think there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. So I said, where can we find someone that's done 100 homes a year? We found someone very close to my market. It was like 2 towns over, and I asked her if I could shadow her and be her apprentice. She said, sure. Marilyn was her name. I did that for about 6 months. I then joined her team, and then when I had enough, what do you call it, tenure, I went and got my brokerage license, and I opened up a Realty Executives franchise. That's how that happened. And then what we would do in that franchise is we gave a minimum. If you didn't do 12 deals a year, you were asked to leave.
Oh
We
wow,
were
okay,
we were Mike Ferry students back then in the
yep.
90s, and that's what we did. I think twice we had to do that, and people were shocked in the marketplace because they weren't like they were decent agents. It's just that we had a small kind of boutique, and we wanted to make sure they were
Well,
producing.
and a lot of people don't. I mean, packing agents along is a lot of risk, a lot of time, a lot of
Right.
basically all of the resources that you don't really necessarily have as an entrepreneur that you have to go out and buy. I mean, and the time being of the most valuable of the three. I mean, I know, man, I get that for sure, and I've never actually heard it put like that. Where if you didn't sell 12 deals, you were out. Of course, that would probably be dependent upon what market you were in as to how many that number would be. But I mean, yeah, talk about a way to weed it down and get the best of the best and move on.
Yeah, it did weed it out, and it caused some heartache on the ones that had to leave. Now, if they had a life story, Casey, we wouldn't ask them to leave. But for the most part, they were producing. They would beat 12 deals, no
Sure,
question.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, and yeah, and a deal a month is not too much to ask of
No.
somebody. Just especially if because you know when I first started selling real estate, I came into an office that was just cram packed full of agents. As a matter of fact, I shared an office with two other agents, and I had a old desk that was just all but damn near put together with duct tape, and I had a chair, and I set up, and here we go,
Yeah.
and and setting my sights far enough out to say, hey, okay, do whatever it takes to go get listings. That it doesn't matter if they're too high. It doesn't matter what they are. Go get listings. Get the listing contract signed. Period. What let the people price the house. It doesn't make any difference. Get the listing. And with that mentality, it led to obviously then I had something to advertise other than, hey, here I am waiting for you to come let me sell your house. And so, yeah, so biting into that is really interesting. So, of course, you are into the early 2000s now, and then of course, I'm always interested in people's take on 2008, and part of the reason is because 2000 and the middle to end ish of 2007 is when I started, and
Uh,
I can't tell you how many times people would come to me and say, "Man, yeah, if you can make money selling real estate right now, you'll be fine anytime." And that's held true to a certain extent, but those were the years when, like you said, and I know you've already kind of gone into it and said you didn't file bankruptcy, but a lot of people we're in that time right now where it's there's never going to be another bad day. Everything is just blow and go and go and blow and so what I know those turbulent years. I'd like to hear a little bit about that, and maybe if you know if there was any kind of drama associated with that for you. I know there was probably personal inner stuff, but tell us about that again.
yeah, I'll tell you. I talk about this openly at our events. We're from New England, so we're an open book. We're blunt. We go fast.
Yeah,
So I said this. I peel back more and more stories every year at our events. But yes, it was. There's a lot of stress. I can tell you, for the listeners, if they've ever been in one of these predicaments, I was in all of these that I'm going to tell you. I'll tell you quickly a few. I had IRS calling. I had credit cards calling. Took me years to work out of that. I was letting my dog out when my daughter's husky out one morning. We lived on a estate on top of a hill before I lost that house. And a tow truck pulled up at like 4:30 in the morning to take one of the cars. And literally, I happened to be walking the dog. I don't know if it was the dog looking at him, what it was, but I just said to him, my meal to payment. He looked at the dog and said, okay, I'll make a note. And he got out of there. But the car would have been gone. So those are scary times. And I think back to that going, what was I thinking? So we went from that house, 2.25 acres overlooking the water, which is hard to find in this area, to a one bedroom apartment, my wife and I, one bedroom. It
yeah,
was her idea. And we then launched everything that I have today with zero debt. It was built because of that move. And it was not easy ego wise, but we did it. And that was a bit. So I'm in a position now to say to my students when they get in these predicaments, mentally, financially, overhead wise, what the heck they should be doing, and that's important. We talk about coaching. You and I. You go out and you join any. I don't care what niche you go in. I don't care if you're a realtor. I don't care if you're an investor. And then within the investing world, there's hundreds of niches. Whatever it is you do, make sure you find someone that's been through some, not just market cycles, but life cycles,
sure.
because it's not all what the night commercials and the marketers are telling you it is. It's work, but the upside is enormous. That I'll just plant that seed because that's why I do it.
Yeah, yeah. I remember several years ago.
Hi, this is Casey Brown, host of the Cash Flow Pro podcast and YouTube channel. Have you been thinking about investing in real estate but just don't know where to begin? I'd like to help by inviting you to check out our website at www.3000capital.com. There you will find an array of material that will help you learn all about real estate syndication. And while you're there, be sure to check out our free video series download titled 5 Must-Know Keys to Success in Passive Real Estate Investing. I'd also like to personally thank you for making Cash Flow Pro part of your day. Now, back to the show.
One of the first coaching programs I ever enrolled in um, was about marketing. And, I'd been watching this guy for years and had been following, he's doing different stuff. And what seemed like just kind of life things I was following with him, I joined his coaching program. I was young, dumb, whatever you want to call it. So it was $10,000. So I put in my $10,000, join his coaching program, and thinking, all right, this is the fast track. This is how we're going to go. This is prior to my selling real estate days when I realized that hey, you actually have to do something to be something, and and so I put it in there, and here we go. And the first words out of the man's mouth in the first course, this is not easy. If you are up for hard work, sleepless nights, ready to go to work and make something happen, then keep going. And I thought, man, I just paid you X amount of dollars because I thought this was going to be easy. And
Yeah.
then when I set that back and then you look and it's like, and exactly what you're saying, it's work. It's work. Everybody thinks that they're going to buy the easy way, but go to work and just do what you're supposed to do and do something that's replicatable, that's replicatable quickly, and make it happen. And just you'll reap the benefits years down the road. So again, you went from 2 acres overlooking the water, nice house, I guess is in, we could call it in New England, the car was going to get repo. See, I don't, I was, that was a little jab. You can get me back
That
on
was perfectly done.
and so you went to a 1 bedroom apartment, which again, I think, like I said, sobering, and like you said, is pretty much an understatement. But sobering is probably, wow. I mean, that's just unbelievable. And then so you just started digging out. So tell us, what was when you were at the very very bottom, which I've been there. I think a lot of people have been at some point in their life. At the very 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 bottom, where you're sucking water in, and all you need is just a little bit of air. What was your first move?
Gosh, chronologically, I did the same thing I did in the '90s as a new realtor. I seeked mentors. I couldn't afford them. I'll tell you what I did, and just to give context to the move, my mortgage payment was just under 25 grand a month. My apartment was $925 a month. That was quite a big move. So I seeked out a mentor. I said, okay, this is cool. I seeked out a bunch online, but I went to four or five people, and the last one was an attorney friend. And I said to him, "You fund this." It was 25 grand. I didn't have it. He said, "You fund this. You become my investor, and what I'll do is I'll share profits with you, and I'll share profits with you on every deal until you have X return." I think it was double return, like 100% return
Sure.
on your investment, and that's what we did.
Like, yeah, creatively digging out. And when you're creatively digging out, it, and you feel like the weight of the world is just laying right on top of you, it becomes unimaginable. And so when you're digging out and you're getting forward and you said, hey, I will give you X amount of return if you enter me into what type of a mentor was that? What type of a program was it? Was that like a life coach, or was that like
It was real estate specific mastermind with only 8 people, so I knew it was going to be hands on, interactive. That's why I'm big on that now. And I knew I could get deals going. So that was pivotal. And I tell my students when I have an event and I say, look, I know what you're thinking. Does it work in my area? Does it work in my price range? Can I do it? All those are normal doubts. But yes, yes, and yes, it can. You just got to know with certainty that if I do ABC, I get this result. And here's the example I give them, Case. I say, look, liken it to if I was on stage and I said to the audience, who has $100 bill? Now, many people wouldn't have one on them, but if I change that to, hey, if I'll give you an hour, get resourceful. Whoever comes back with $100 bill, you give it to me. I'm gonna give you 200 back. There's probably nobody in there that wouldn't find a way to get $100 bill. They'd do
figure
whatever
it
it
out,
took,
wouldn't they?
right? So it's the
Yeah.
same stuff. It's the same with a coaching program. If you know someone can get you there, get resourceful. There's ways to do it. There's companies that now fund people like us so that you can use that to get it. There's all ways to do it. You just gotta get resourceful.
Yeah, you just got to figure it out, and that's kind of seems like at times the story of my life as well. You just got to get in, get resourceful, figure out what you can do, the cheapest you can do, and get the most exposure, and
Right.
just step one. My mother told me one time, I was again very young, and I was going through a rough time and trying to get started in business, and things just weren't holding together. I was fighting a terrible anxiety disorder that I still have to this day. um, and she said, and my mother told me, she said, the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time.
Right.
And I thought, all right, I said, that's fine. All right, we're going to get this. I had some credit cards, some debt when I came out of college, and so on. And I said, all right, one bite at a time, one bite at a time. And I started, and it just a little bit, and we moved forward and got over it. And then, of course, blossomed into a wonderful career of real estate and everything else. So what does the world look like for you right now? Obviously, we're coming out of '07, '08, and we're moving on. And I think from that point on, you've just done nothing but build. So what did that look like, and what does it look like now?
Yeah, so we started myself, then my son Nick came in, and then my son-in-law Zach came in. My daughter was there for a while, and she had two great kids. So it's a family-based company, but now we have a great team, and luckily, virtually since COVID, all over the country. When I say we locally buy, and then we locally take that and then teach it around the country. I think you and I off air were talking. I have about 140 or so people like you and I that are have joined our program and do deals with us around the country, and we still every single week, every single day, we're in the trenches doing it as well. As you know, if you're not, this is another caution for people looking at different programs. If you're not in the trenches every day, and it's 6 months go by, even things move too quickly. It's too
Yeah,
risky. So make sure if you're out there and you go into any niche, um, I said earlier, make sure you with someone with experience, but also make sure they're still active. I know people that are teaching that haven't done a deal in 20 years. That's scary. You gotta be careful.
yeah. Yeah. People that are teaching that haven't done a deal in 20 years. I mean, that's, you might have the basis of what you need to teach somebody that still works today. But I mean, if you haven't done a deal in 20 years, how do you know the value of a Facebook group and the value of this and the value of that? Now, I'm gonna, which brings me to another point of people when they're trying to get started a creative resource, and this is just kind of one of those things that I did. And if there's a listener out there or somebody out there that may be interested in learning more about how to do these things, you can just look around and find the free resources. But I started a free Facebook group. Okay, I was at the very bottom. I had just come through a divorce. I was at the very like two nickels to rub together would have been like, that's what we used to create heat. I mean, it was that bad. And so I created a free Facebook group. Okay, I had a computer, I had a Facebook group, and I had content in my mind. Well, that Facebook group eventually started growing, and it grew and it grew and it grew. And what it grew off of was the fact that we had recently all but lost our local newspaper publisher. I mean, they're not local anymore. We're a small town, small community. We had lost our local newspaper publisher. They had moved. Somebody in Paducah or somewhere way away from here had bought them. And so local news was becoming a severe challenge, right? So what we did was we just went to all the funeral homes. We're in the South. Everybody wants to know who died. We went to all the funeral homes here in town, which only amounted to six or seven, but we got subscribed to their obituary uh, distribution. Okay, got their permission. Hey, do you care if we publish these in a Facebook group? Okay, so we became a slowly built news group of, and as of now, it's kind of trans transferred into, we share obituaries and we share deed transfers, we share local happenings like that. And so what I'm getting at here is you can find free resources, you can find ways to get your name out there that may have to be untraditional. That, and so now my real estate sales business, every obituary in our county is shared by Casey Brown, your local real estate expert or whatever. I can't remember how my page is exactly titled, but so I'm getting 2 or 3 thousand impressions a day, or I'm sorry, per obituary. We publish 10 to 12 a day, and so I'm getting, however many that, what is that, 24. I'm getting almost 30,000 impressions a day, just simply by sharing this content. And so again, getting in front of people that you know could use a resource or something like that is what we've done. Now, enough about my stuff. What do you all offer? Are you all more focused on newer agents, middle of the career agents, or what is that based around?
We actually don't segregate it to agents. A small portion of our tribe is agents. As a past agent, I'll tell you that if they don't learn what we teach, they're leaving so much money on the table. So I'll just do that for a shout out. Because if I knew what I'm doing now, if I knew that when I was an agent for 18
Yeah,
years, that I wouldn't be getting paid once on a deal. I wouldn't be worrying about recreating that every year with, like a treadmill. I would be, we trademark what we call 3 paydays in the
yeah,
United States. So you get paid now like you would on as an agent, but you get paid over time and long term too. So to answer your question, a lot of our people come from corporate America, especially during COVID and post COVID. There's been a massive influx of entrepreneurship, as you probably know, from COVID. So a lot of people coming into real estate that way. A lot of people in just 6 figure jobs that go, I'm done with corporate. They've been hustling for years. And then a lot of people from other niches, not just realtors, but other niches, wholesalers, flippers. That's getting super competitive. So they've been gravitating towards this terms niche, this creative real estate niche. And one main reason, it really can weather the different markets.
yeah,
Whereas some of the other niches, they're going to thrive in certain markets, but others are going to be super, super flat. We built this coming out of the crash to survive and thrive, really, not survive, thrive in any market, up, down, sideways. It's just a matter of during those markets where we fish.
yeah.
Who are we talking to during those markets? That's it. Other than that, you got to be a master deal structure. And you don't care what the market does over time.
Yeah, especially if you get those deals set up right. I always, I always heard the term: you don't make money when you sell it; you make money when you buy
Yep.
it. And
Yep.
that goes for structuring the deal too, I'm sure.
100%. Yep.
So, well, good deal. Well, listen, we always end the episodes with a couple of different questions, and there's no right or wrong answer.
Sure.
But my first question to you is what is the best book that you have recently read or are reading?
I always go by whatever I'm looking for at the time, but I'll tell you what the most recent one is, and that I think is a good one for anyone. And it's Shoe Dog, the Phil Knight story.
I
Amazing
read that. Man, you talk about. I just went.
challenges.
I just went. Somebody else just the other day recommended this book, and it blows my mind. I mean, he was selling sneakers out of the trunk of his car,
Yeah,
but he had a belief. He had a belief, and he had a goal. I mean, two things. That's all he had.
big
A
lessons
belief.
on building a business and mental everything.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and everything he overcame, the adversity, the manufacturer things that he overcome. I mean, just unbelievable. It's an unbelievable story of fortitude
Yeah,
and get it done. So,
yeah.
all right, what is the best trip you've ever taken or hope to take?
Italy. We were in Venice. It was amazing. The only caveat was it was during 9/11.
Yeah.
So we were the second flight back into Boston, I think it was. But the
Oh
trip was
wow.
absolutely amazing. People were amazing when we were there during that. It was cool.
Wow, interesting. I'm sure that kind of added to the whole experience and just basically everything that you had going on. So, all right. So, listen, we have a certain portion of our audience are real estate individuals, people that are looking to potentially structure deals. Again, we do have some agents and things like that reach out to us from time to time. But what is the best way for somebody if they've heard something they want to get more information on, they want to chat with you, they want to talk with your company? What is the best way for them to reach out to you and get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple things. I'm big on free. I think you said it earlier. So if they go to the YouTube and type in Smart Real Estate Coach, they're gonna get a bunch of videos. But every Sunday we do what's called a Deal Structure Sunday, where we whiteboard the deal of how we do 3 paydays, the good, the bad, and the challenging. Though we don't give you all the fluffy ones like a lot of people do. So go check that out. We did create a link just for your tribe, Casey, so they can get the best selling books and a couple other goodies. Just go to Wicked Smart Books with an S, wickedsmartbooks.com/cash flow pro. They won't be asked to put in money for shipping or credit card. That's not free. Free. We're going to put it in the mail ourselves. You won't pay 10 cents. And then if you don't mind listening to me go for another hour, you get a free master's class. It's a workshop. It's a free one for about 55 minutes. Just go to smartrealestatecoach.com/master's class.
Awesome, man. That's great. So unreal when people get free resources, and then when people come through the links, and we most certainly appreciate you putting our little blurb on there to kind of enhance that, and hopefully we can get this
You bet.
distributed for you. And but man, thank you so much, Chris. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. I know that the listeners are going to get some definite value out of the things that you said, and at least if they don't get anything else, they're going to get value out of your experience and what direction maybe they can link up kind of where you were and hopefully come to where you are. So, Chris, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I hope we affected enough people, and I'd love to chat with them.
Absolutely, man. Thank you again. Everybody have a wonderful rest of the day.
Cashflow Pro is hosted by Casey Brown, founder and CEO of 3000 Capital, a commercial real estate investment firm committed to providing its investors with ongoing cash flow and helping them build long-term wealth. If you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified about all our future episodes. You can find more information about us and our investment philosophy by clicking the link in the show notes below. Thanks for listening.